Good morning, DFS Army. It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Gag, here with another NBA First Look brought to you by Drafters.com. It's a new site here. It's very interesting. They have snake drafts, pick'ems, best ball style drafts. We can actually late slop up until tip, so even after the game locks. So on NBA, you know how frustrating it is when you get Paul George scratched because I don't know, he's got a little issue and we don't know about it. How many times has happened in NBA? And we're like, the game hasn't tipped off yet. Just allow us to swap these guys off. Well, on drafters.com, you can actually do that. You can actually swap these players up until the game tips. I wish more sites would do this in the industry, especially the big hitters like Fanduel and DraftKings, but at drafters.com, you can actually do this. And another option that they have is auto swap. So if you're not around the computer, and you are not able to get a guy out of your lineup due to inactive status, one thing that they do is swap in the next highest ranked player for you. So you're not going to get stuck with a 0, which will absolutely kill your night as well. So those two options are unique to drafters.com. And again, if you go over there and use promo code DFSArmy, get a 25% deposit bonus up to a max of $400 deposit. So $100 bonus there. Again, link in the description below if you want to go over there and join drafters.com. Very interesting site. And those two things alone, I wish some of these other sites would do. So go check them out. And let's dive right into this massive 10-game slate we have. Baseball kicked off yesterday. We just got a lot going on now with baseball and NBA here, but let's jump right into this thing. And again, if you like these videos, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notification bells so you know when I upload these videos. Let's dive into it. All right, massive slate. Like I said, 10-gamer, lots of injury news. We will go through DraftKings here, talk about build a sample lineup as we're going through things. We'll also talk about Fanduel. I'll do a Fanduel sample lineup as well. And we'll just talk about all this injury news and kind of where we're sitting early in the morning here. So first game on tap, we have Golden State at Toronto, 228.5 over under. Golden State favored by 3.5. Jordan Poole is questionable. Kevon Looney is probable. Eric Pascal is questionable. Steph Curry is questionable. And on the Toronto side, Kyle Lowry is still out, so it's going to be the Fred VanVleet show. DeAndre Bembry is probable. And Stanley Johnson is probable as well. Jalen Harris and Paul Watson are both out for Toronto, along with Patrick McCall. But the big news is Kyle Lowry. Close spread here, 220.5 over under. Again, with no Kyle Lowry, it is the Fred VanVleet show. I mean, he's just absolutely rolling here. I think, he's priced, fair. He's 8,200 over on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he's priced at 7,400. So still just way too stinking cheap on FanDuel on the Toronto side. Just ridiculous. He just play him in all formats. On DraftKings, I don't mind him. I don't mind playing that price, 8,200. I still think there's meat left on the bone there. It's going to be him and Siakam. OG are the guys going to carry it. Chris Boucher at 5,200 on DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel, very much in play. OG 6,600 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings, very much in play. Trenton Jr. shot pretty well last game, 5,600 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel is 5,200. So these are the guys I'm looking at. These are the 5 guys I'm looking at. I'm going to throw VanVleet in this lineup, just to 8,200. He's just the most consistent. Siakam struggled a little bit over the last 2 games. We haven't seen the massive upside, 30 and 28, 39 over his last 3, 53 put up against Phoenix. But OG's been the guy that's been really consistent here. 48, 38, 37, 32, and 41. I don't mind playing both these guys together. I don't mind playing a couple of these guys, especially over on FanDuel. But again, 6,800 here, and then Boucher 5,200. He just needs a little bit more run. The last 2 games, 19 and 16 minutes. So Fred Nurse is going back to his old ways of not really running him too heavy. So I'm just going to throw Fred VanVleet in this lineup, but those guys are definitely in play. I don't think I'm going to run any Bembry out there. I don't think he's going to see a ton of minutes. Stanley Johnson at 3,100. I don't think on a slate this large you need to go there. Just focus on the good plays. On the Golden State side, if Steph Curry were to sit, we could look at maybe if Poole and Curry sits, they got to have some kind of guards here. Wiggins would probably get a massive boost He's 7,500 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's priced at 7,600. So not a great price, but if those guys are out, he's going to have to shoot a ton. Toronto's not a great defensive team at all. Even with Lowry out, I mean, you can attack them all day long. So Draymond Green's way too cheap on FanDuel, 6,600, 6,700 on DraftKings. It's a great price. I don't mind him at all. I kind of like him when Curry plays, though. Those assist numbers go up a little bit. He's a triple-double upside anytime he touches the court. But on a back-to-back here, nobody I think you have to throw in here. Kelly Oubre would get a little bit of a boost. If no Steph Curry, some of these guys got to shoot more. But if Poole and Curry both sit, I think Wiggins and Green are the people that I'm looking at here, and then Oubre would be the third. I wouldn't really look too much in here. Steve Kerr can do all kinds of things. I'm not going to throw anybody in this lineup, but those are the guys I would look at. Let's move over to the next game where we have Houston at Boston. No total for this game, but for Houston, Deontay Exum is out. John Wall is questionable. Tristan Thompson is out, for Boston. And then the Time Lord and Robert Williams are both probable for Boston. So on the Houston side, if John Wall sits, Porter Jr. is a guy that I'm going to look at here, even going up against Boston. His assist numbers will be up. He's 6K on FanDuel, 6,500 on DraftKings. If John Wall plays, 7,800 on DraftKings, 8,400 on FanDuel. I don't think it's a guy I'm going to go to. I'd much rather go up to Fred VanVleet going up against Golden State. Christian Wood, 8,400 on DraftKings, 8K on FanDuel. I think he's a tournament play, but he's still priced up towards the ceiling that I don't think you need to really look at going towards him very much. So not a guy that I'm going to look at here. Kelly Olynyk, I love the guy, but I need Christian Wood to sit out because he's only going to get backup center minutes, so I can't really look there. Tate, same kind of thing. He's going to play that power forward position, but the upside isn't there because all the usage is going to go towards Wood. It's going to go towards Porter here if Wall is out. Just not a team I'm going to attack a ton of here. I think they can play, 10 to 12 guys. They got DJ Augustin now, Avery Bradley. This team has nothing to really play for, so they're just going to throw some guys out here. So I don't really love this team. On the Boston side, Time Lord, 6,600 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DraftKings. The minutes are just what kill me with him. 32 last game against Pelicans, put up 32, but he's a point per minute monster. 32, 26, 27 minutes over his last three. And what's crazy, he does this with minimal shots, 5 shots, but 32, 37, 41 fantasy points. He's priced up to a point where he's got to be super efficient in his production to actually get there. He's been a 1.49 fantasy points per minute over the last month. It just all comes down to the minutes that he's going to see, but it's hard to really go there at his price. Jaylen Brown, 7,900 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel. All these guys I don't really want to play because we got Kemba Walker back, we got Tatum, and they're all kind of priced up. I think Time Lord on FanDuel would be the one guy I would look at. But Marcus Smart's healthy, Kemba's healthy. They're all kind of priced up. Just a team I'm going to kind of skip on. I don't think you need to go here, even though the matchup's good against Boston. On DraftKings, I think you are looking at Time Lord. You are looking at Kemba at 6,900. I think those are the guys you look at, but I'm not paying 9,100 for Tatum here, and I'm not paying 7,900 for Brown. So I'm going to skip this. But if you're going to, look at Evan Fournier as well. So, Brad Stevens, he can do a lot of things here. I'm not loving it. Let's head over to Dallas at New York Knicks. We got a 213.5 over under. Dallas favored by 5.5. On the Dallas side, JJ Redick is out. I read an article by him yesterday. He wasn't very happy that they traded him to Dallas. Not that he didn't like Dallas, but he wanted to go to a contender or on the East Coast close to his family. Willie Cauley-Stein is out as well for Dallas. And on the Knicks, we have RJ Barrett questionable, as well as Derrick Rose. So on the Dallas side, it's basically the same guys we always talk about here. The Knicks played a slow-ass pace on Tibbs, so I don't love these guys very much. But again, Luka is always going to be in play. 10-7 on DraftKings. He is 10-5 on FanDuel. Always going to be a tournament option, but on this slate, not sure that I'm going to go there. Low total. Spread's 5.5, but I don't think I'm going to go there. Porzingis 8,800 on FanDuel. Too expensive for me. 8K on DraftKings. Again, not a spot that I'm really looking to go, but those are the two guys I'm playing. I ain't touching anybody else. If Luka and Porzingis are playing, I'm not taking the chances on Brunson or Richardson or TJ or Hardaway Jr. All these guys are only in play for me if one of these guys sits. So as long as they're both playing, I'm just moving on, especially on a 10-game slate. Over on the Knicks side, again, played a slow pace. Not super excited to play here. You know, Julius Randle's priced way up at 9,600 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel. So again, not somebody that I'm super excited to play here at price. You know, RJ Barrett is questionable. So if he does sit and Derrick Rose sits, maybe we see a little bit more elf on a shelf. He's 4,500 on FanDuel, 4,400 on DraftKings. So that makes a little sense. If those guys did sit, he would see a little bit more time. Same with Alec Burks would get a little bit of a bump up as well. He's 5,800 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel. And then quickly, 5K on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. So all these guys in the guards would get a little boost if we didn't have no Barrett or Rose. Some more guys would have to take some shots, but just not a game I really want to attack here. So we're going to wait on news on this one. Let's head on over to Charlotte at Indy. 223 over under. Indy favored by 4. Malik Monk is doubtful. Sabonis is questionable, and Jeremy Lamb is questionable for the Indiana Pacers. So on the Indiana side, again, if we had no Sabonis here, you know, there's a lot of news on the slate. You're going to have to tune into DFSArmy.com. If you are not a member, head on over there and sign up using using promo code CashCake and save yourself 10%, because there's a lot of news that we got to go here to drop off, and it's going to dictate this slate. And with baseball locking at the same time, you're going to want to make sure you know what's going on with the news. Again, if we had no Sabonis here, you know, we could look at maybe taking a chance on a Turner 6K on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. You know, but usage for LeVert, Brogdon would both go up. Don't really like the prices on DraftKings per se, but over on FanDuel, they're pretty nice. For Brogdon, 6,600 on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. TJ McConnell, 4,800 on FanDuel, which is a great price, at 4,900 on DraftKings. So we need the news on Sabonis and Lamb. If those guys are out, these guys are going to get a bump here, and we'll have all that covered over at DFS Army today. On the Charlotte side, man, Malik Monk. Boy, man, it sucks to see LaMelo Ball out, because, man, I was really enjoying that kid, even though I hate his father. Shouldn't say hate. I dislike the way his father is and puts himself in the spotlight above his kids. But, man, he was fun to watch this year before he broke his wrist. So, again, Malik Monk, he is doubtful here. So we should see a few more minutes, you know, out of the Zeller twins here. And then we could look at Devontae Graham's going to pick up a little bit more. Rozier's going to pick up a little bit more. But, you know, for the big thing, it's just the pricing. Indiana's a good defensive team. I don't think you need to attack him. PJ Washington, you can attack Indiana with bigs that are versatile and can move. So PJ Washington is still too cheap. 5,200 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DraftKings. So if I was going to take a chance on one guy, it would be PJ Washington. You know, they're on a back-to-back. 26 minutes yesterday, 3 for 11, 25 fantasy points. He hasn't really crushed. I don't like the pricing on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, he's very fair. Same thing, Gordon Hayward, 7K. He's always an Indiana boy. So going into Indiana, maybe you want to take that narrative with 7K is just too cheap on FanDuel. 7,900 on DraftKings. You know, he did play for Butler. They talked about trading him. They're going to Indy, but he didn't. Again, Rozier, 7,800 on FanDuel. A little too expensive for me. 8,100 on DraftKings. These guys are just all priced up for the matchup against Indy. I don't really love it. They've been starting Biyombo and then bringing Zeller off the bench. It's just kind of a mess here. So not really looking at it. If you're going to fade Washington, though, I would make a rule and put Miles Bridges, you know, play. If you're not playing Washington, play Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is 5,100 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. Washington gets into foul trouble. Bridges can come in and light things up. So I do like that. Let's head on over to the next game. We got Minnesota at Memphis. Memphis favored by 7, 232 over under. Josh Okogie is questionable. D. Russ is still out. Brandon Clark is probable. Justice Winslow is out for Memphis, and Grayson Allen is questionable as well. So on the Minnesota side, no D-Russ here. We're going to be looking at McDaniels, man. McDaniels has been a monster. 4,600 on DraftKings, 4,900 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. The minutes have been way up the last 3 games. 36, 38, 36, 29, 39, 21. Going up against Memphis, I think this is a place. He's only been a 0.78 fantasy points per minute over the last month. But a cheap tag, I think we can look at playing him. I'm going to slide him in this lineup at small forward. I just like that price, and I don't think a lot of people are playing enough of him because it's been before we had a lot of Vanderbilt. So McDaniels has been picking up that power forward slot and playing a lot of minutes. Ricky Rubio, 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel. A guy just have a hard time playing. There's not a lot of guys that get a ton of minutes here. It's really Cat at 10-1 on DraftKings and 10-8 on FanDuel. A price that I don't love to play. I think I was going to play him on one thing. It'd be more of DraftKings than it would be on FanDuel at 10-8. But, 53, 62, 56, 66 over his last 4. He's playing 40, 39, 33, 35 minutes. You have to like that. Shots almost 20 shots, 3 of the last 4 games. So, guy you can look at playing. I don't think a guy that I'm going to smash into my lineups here. We got some games that, depending on the news, we could load up here. But Cat's definitely in play. Anthony Edwards, 7,800 on FanDuel. I don't love 7,100 on DraftKings. I think is playable. So to me, it's I'm looking at Daniels. I'm looking at Cat, Edwards, Rubio. With Beasley back, it kind of screws things up a little bit. But again, you can look at him as well. 6,100 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel. Just tournament options here. I just think that they're playing a bunch of these guys and kind of figuring out, they don't really have a whole lot to play for. So over on the Memphis side, we talked about, some of the injury news they have here that we can look at maybe exploiting a little bit. Again, Memphis is on 2 and 3 here. John Morant's still too cheap. 6,800 on FanDuel. It's just dumb. 7,600 on DraftKings is too cheap as well. Joe Val, 7,700 on DraftKings. 7,600 on FanDuel. Both great plays. I think that's where I'd look at. Dylan Brooks going to get an uptick here if there's no Grayson Allen. If Grayson Allen does sit, we probably see Desmond Bain jump in that starting lineup as well. 3,600 on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings, a guy that we can look at. Kyle Anderson would have been in play. I would have loved Kyle Anderson if Clark would have set. His stats do go up with Clark out, but Clark is probable, so that kind of takes me off Kyle Anderson here going up against Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is horrendous. I'm going to look at John Moran. I'm going to throw him in this lineup. I think at his price, especially on FanDuel, going up against Minnesota, I kind of like this here. 53 against Utah here in 36 minutes. Before that, though, 29-18, and then put up a 55 burger against Utah. Just putting it on Utah a little bit here. But again, I don't mind looking at John Morant here at this price. It's just kind of too cheap, especially if we can see a competitive game. And it's a pretty high total. It's a horrible defense. Get up and down the court. I like Ja here a lot. I'm going to kind of skip this rest. Like I said, Joe Val be the next guy I would look at, but at that price, I don't think he's a must at all. Let's head over to the next game, Chicago at Utah. What total do we have here? No, looks like we have no total for this game. But we do have some injury news we got to look at here. Kobe White is questionable. Garrett Temple is out for Chicago. Zach LaVine is questionable. And then on Utah side, Donovan Mitchell is questionable and Joe Ingles is probable. So on the Chicago side, if there's no Zach LaVine, if there's no White, we are going to, look at some of these guys like Sato. Sato's going to get a big bump here. 4,900 on DraftKings. 4,800 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel, a guy that we can look at. But it's going up against Utah. I'm not super excited about attacking them. And Chicago could really, take these minutes and spread them out. So not a team I really want to attack against Utah. Vooch at 9K, though, on DraftKings, 8,800 on FanDuel. I don't mind that. If these guys are out, he's going to be shooting a little bit more. 49 and 42 over his last 2. So if these guys are out, maybe Vooch is a guy we look at putting in there. Even against Gobert, he can stretch the 5, pull Gobert out and drain those 3s. So Lauri Markkanen's another guy, if these guys are out, that can light it up a little bit. 5,100 on DraftKings. Over on Fanduel, he is 5,600. Put up a 33 burger in 34 minutes against Phoenix back on March 31st. So again, the usage is going to uptick on Lauri Markkanen and Vooch if we do get some of these guys out, but it is a tough matchup going against Utah. And there's no total on this, I think, because so much injury news we got to wait on. And again, another reason to head on over to DFSArmy and sign up just to get that injury news and see who to pivot on. Over on Utah side, same kind of thing. If Donovan Mitchell sits, we're going to see Mike Conley, Clarkson, Joe Ingles all get a boost here. It's massive when it comes to the usage. Love them all here if he does sit. Conley 6,400 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DraftKings. I'm going to slide him in this lineup, Conley. I just think if this is, again, if Mitchell sits, I just like it. Clarkson's a little bit too expensive for me on DraftKings. 6,100, 5,300 on FanDuel is just too cheap if Mitchell is out. And then Joe Ingles, 5,800 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, a guy that I'll have some interest in as well. And then Rudy Gobert, 6,500 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings. Don't really love it. For me, it's just Conley's the one main guy here. If Mitchell's out, I'm probably just going to go Conley. And if Mitchell's in, I don't mind going to Mitchell, 8,800 on both sides. I think that's a fair price for him. No problem playing him. But again, we're going to need this news before we can make those decisions. Next game here we got on tap is Atlanta at the Pelicans. On the Atlanta side, no Chris Dunn, no DeAndre Hunter, no John Collins. They are all out. Clint Capella is questionable as well, so is Trae Young. And on the Pelicans side, Josh Hart is probable. And then on the Pelicans are on a back-to-back. And Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Zion are all questionable. They were out last night, so the Pelicans were chalk, and they did really well. Going up against Atlanta, this could be a game we just attack all over the place. There could just be a ton of, this could be like a damn near G League game. It's with all these guys out, so we really got to figure it out. But if Clint Capella plays, man, I want some Clint Capella in my life. Going up against the Pelicans, especially if Zion and these guys sit, he should be able to go up there and smash. The rebounds are going to go way up with no Collins there. The minutes should go up. So I'm going to love some Capella, but we're going to need the news. So if he's out, I love some Capella. I'm going to throw him in this lineup here at 8,100. Even going up against Adams and Jackson Hayes, I just, the rebounds are going to go just way up with no Collins there. So really like him, especially on FanDuel, 7,800. It's just too cheap. Bogdanovich has been doing really well as well. 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. And again, with these injuries that they have with Hunter, it's, and Reddish, it's just he's getting the start and he's getting a lot of run. Put up 49 and 45 over his last two games, put up 45 and 37 minutes. I think he's a guy you just kind of slide right in here. I'll put him in the shooting guard position. But a guy that, again, especially if he had no Trae Young. If Trae Young sat as well, oh, man, he would get a ton of shots. So those are the guys I'm really looking at. If Trae Young plays, I don't mind him at 8,700 on FanDuel. 9,400 on DraftKings, a little pricey for me, but a guy I would look at going up against this Pelicans. So this is a game I really want to target and target heavy here. We don't have a total for it because there's so much injury news, but this is the game that I want to get on. So if you're building lineups and you're building like single entry and stuff like that in your cash, you're going to want to backload this because this game is going to really dictate this slate. Over on the Pelican side, again, we talked about Zion, Ingram, and Ball all being questionable. And if they did sit, same kind of thing is going to happen here. We're going to get a ton of gnaw. Alexander Walker, 6,200 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. Put up 49 fantasy points last game, 13 to 24, 38 minutes, 49 fantasy points. Just been crushing it. I mean, he's a guy you're just going to lock in your lineups here if these guys do sit. So say they do sit, I'll take Morant out here and I'll throw me a gnaw in this lineup. And then, Bledsoe, 5,300 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. Again, a guy that I'm going to be extremely heavy on. So this is why we need this news. It just feels like it's a guard-heavy slate. Usually I like to play two centers, but it just feels like a guard-heavy slate here. Lewis Jr., another guy I'll look at, 4,100 on FanDuel, not so much, but on DraftKings, 3,700. I like him a little bit. But it really hinges upon these big three. So it's hard to say it, but you're going to load up on Alexander Walker, Bledsoe, and Hart at 5,800 as well. Hart had a big game yesterday as well. Put up 42 fantasy points in 47 minutes. Again, that game went to overtime. But again, I like he's small forward eligible. So we need this injury news because, again, you're going to be loading up on this game. This game's going to be massive. And if we don't know it before lock, you backfill your lineups. That's all I can tell you. The next game here, we got Milwaukee at Portland. We have a 236.5 over under. Milwaukee favored by 3.5. Massive total here. PJ Tucker is out. Bobby Portis is questionable. Jeff Teague is questionable as well for Milwaukee. Rodon Karuk is probable, and Nazir Little is out for Portland. So on the Milwaukee side, it's the same. It's the same guys. We talk about all the time. It's Giannis, it's Middleton, it's Drew. I think they're all playable against Portland. Portland's not a good defensive team. You can play each and every one of these guys. I don't think I will be going a ton here, but all of them are played. DiVincenzo's in play at 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. Those are really the only guys I'm looking at here. If Portis does sit, maybe we see a few more minutes out of Lopez, and maybe Giannis just sees a tad bit more run here. Again, I'm not going to talk about it. We know it's the same guys are going to play here. But with Tucker out, and if Porter sits, I would look at maybe some of these bigs a little bit more in Lopez and Middleton and Giannis a little bit. But again, with all three healthy, you're just kind of picking on which one's going to go off. And since it's guard heavy, maybe I lean Giannis just because I don't want to play these. I don't want to play Drew or Middleton with so many other guards on play. On the Portland side, again, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle here with this trade, bringing Powell in and McCollum's healthy and Lillard's healthy. So Lillard 9,900 on DraftKings, 9,200 on FanDuel. Don't really want to go there against Milwaukee, even though you beat Milwaukee by the 3, and that's, Lillard can shoot from half court. So maybe a tournament option, more so on FanDuel than DraftKings. I just can't pay that on DraftKings with all these good values that we have. Potentially could have on DraftKings. CJ McCollum, 8,200 on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel. Same kind of deal. More of a FanDuel play than DraftKings play. I just can't play this much for guards when we got a lot of these 6K guards or even 8K with Van Fleet. I'd rather play Van Fleet over McCollum all day long. Norman Powell, 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel. I don't mind that on DraftKings at 6,400. The minutes are there. I think there is some upside on that. Covington and Nurkic, just not a game I really want to go on. I'm looking at Powell maybe the most. Maybe some Covington on FanDuel. He's 7,500 on FanDuel. Maybe I don't want to go that. So maybe on DraftKings at 6,100 is a way to look at it. 34, 47, 43 over his last 3. So playing really good ball here. But again, you're going up against Milwaukee, and I don't really want to attack these guys too much. And then Nurkic, I think we're probably still going to see like the 22 to 25 minute cap on him coming back. And it just kind of muddles it up with him and Cantor. So nobody that I'm really looking at. So a big total here, but it's really hard to pinpoint where the production is going to be. So I would just pick maybe a few pieces, but not a game stack. Not like Atlanta and the Pelicans. Oh man. Lakers at Sacramento, 223.5 over under. Sacramento favored by 4.5. Anthony Davis is out. No LeBron James. Drummond, they sign him. He gets hurt. Awesome. Good job, bud. Wesley Matthews is questionable, and then on the Sacramento side, Whiteside is questionable as well. So where do we go with the Lakers, man? How have they fallen from grace when it comes to injuries? Wow. Kyle Kuzma's going to have to pick things up. 7,200 on DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel. I think he's in play in both. He's going to play a ton of minutes here without these guys. They're going to need him. Harold, 6,600 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel. He's going to have to play a ton as well with just no bigs real. Marc Gasol, I ain't doing it, man. I don't do it. 3,900 on FanDuel, 4,700 on DraftKings. I ain't doing it. Horton Tucker, 4,900 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. I really can't go there. Markieff Morris, 5,100 on DraftKings, 4,800 on FanDuel. He's going to play big minutes, but Kuzma's the guy that I'm really looking here. And Schroeder for sure. 8K on FanDuel, though. I don't like that price. But, over on DraftKings, I don't mind him at 7,100. So I think there's some value here. And Kuzma, Schroeder, and Harrell, those are the 3 guys that I would look at throwing in here. So I don't know if we can fit him in here or not. We got 3,100 left. Probably can't do it, but I'll shove him in this lineup as we're building things. And maybe, we don't go Capella and we play Harrell as well. So they're just going to have to play some heavy minutes without these guys. Over on the Sacramento side, again, I think you can go, you can go on the other side of the big guys. You can go to Rashawn Holmes, 7,500 on DraftKings is pretty expensive. $8,200 on FanDuel is even more expensive. So on FanDuel, they're all priced up, really. Fox, $9,500 on FanDuel, $8,900 on DraftKings. Again, don't look at the defensive numbers for the Lakers just because they're going to be, with all their guys in, with AD and LeBron, and they're just not as good a defensive team with those guys off the court. So you can play some Sacramento here for sure. Harrison Barnes, 6,200 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel is okay. Halliburton's cheap, man, 5,600 on FanDuel, 6K on DraftKings. Don't really love this tag, but he's got 40-point upside all day long, so I don't mind him in tournaments. Like I said, Rashawn Holmes, I don't mind him in tournaments. 37, 52, 37, 45, and is super consistent. So again, I love these mid-range plays today in this 10 gamer. Usually I'm like stars and scrubs, but I haven't seen too many scrubs that I like. So I might be living around this 5 to 8K range when I'm building lineups, just going through this first look here. But that's where I would look. I wouldn't go too crazy. Buddy Hield's always going to be in play. 5,900 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. The same guys kind of play heavy minutes. Hield, Halliburton, Fox, Holmes, Barnes. Those are the guys you're looking at. And then last game here, OKC at Phoenix. 219.5 over under, very low total, and Phoenix favored by 12.5. OKC, no Mike Muscala, no Baisley, no Dort, no Nader for Phoenix, no Kaminsky for Phoenix. Torrey Craig is questionable. So on the OKC side, man, it's just, Phoenix is a good team, and OKC is just beat down. Like when Svi is going to be, Milochuk, when he's 3,700 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings, great price on FanDuel, 0.87 fantasy points per minute over his last month, 37 and 21. He's more just a shooter than anything else. I don't like his price on DraftKings. FanDuel, though, 3,700 definitely opens some things up. Moses Brown's priced up on FanDuel too, 7,200. He can do some things, I guess, against Ayton. Ayton's not a good defender, but 7,200 on DraftKings. Priced up 38, 24, 50 over his last three. Again, I don't think I can go there price wise, but a lot of these guys are out. Kendrick Williams, 5,100 on DraftKings, I don't love, but on FanDuel, I do at 4,400. I think that's a way you can look at going. Some of these guys are cheap over here. But again, I'm not super pumped about playing a ton of these guys. Roby, 5,500 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DraftKings. 34 and 37 over his last two. They're just kind of last pieces. They're all priced up because of injuries. So nobody that I'm trying to jump on here. They got 103 implied team total. Not super excited about playing them. More so on FanDuel than on DraftKings. On DraftKings, it's just, I just don't love them. Phoenix could run these guys out of the court. On the Phoenix side, again, they're healthy fully. Booker, Paul, Ayton. Nobody that I really want to jump on here. They should be able to do whatever they want to here. Just, Chris Paul on FanDuel is pretty cheap, 7,200, but on DraftKings it's 7,900. Not super excited about that. 8 and 6,500 on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. I guess if you want to look at that against, OKC, I guess you could. But guys, I'm not super excited about. Jay Crowder, 4,900 on DraftKings. Not on a slate this large. I just don't really like it. So Sarge has been playing really well, 3,800 on DraftKings. Last two games, he's only played 20 and 18 minutes, but 27 and 30 fantasy points. So no Frank the Tank. He's getting a few more shots here. He's 4,400 on FanDuel. And so if this game blows out, we could see more Sarge. So this might be a game where load up on Sarge, hope it blows out, and he gets 30 minutes, and he just crushes for a 50 burger. So that would be my sneaky play if you wanted to go that and say, okay, let me play some Sarge because they're going to smash him. We throw in Sarge at center. We got 7,400 left for our last forward position here. And then we can kind of look at, see, we're going to fit this in. And we're like, all right, we got Edwards. That ain't going to work. OG, I don't mind throwing OG in this lineup at all. I wish we had 100 more to put Rashawn Holmes in here. Maybe we can adjust this a little bit and throw him in here. Maybe take McDaniels out. Maybe we said we go Rashawn Holmes here. We got 7,800 left. Don't really like Richardson that much. We can kind of build around. But again, all this is going to change if we do get, news with all those Pelicans out, because I might be getting off of Conley and I'd be throwing in like Bledsoe or throwing in hard or something like that. So everything would change up. But this is kind of what I'm looking at. It just feels like more of a mid-range build to me than it stars and scrubs. And I'm going to say Sarge is my sneaky play in a blowout. He's going to put 40 points up. And again, this video is brought to you by drafters.com. Head on over there, use promo code DFSArmy, 25% deposit bonus, up to $400 max deposit, $100 bonus. Again, the big thing is late swaps with them, up until tip off. So even if the game locks, you can switch out your guys in NBA. It just saves a big headache. I wish DraftKings and Fanduel would do the same thing. I know the community would like it. I know the players would like it. And so I think drafters.com is onto something here. But with that, let's jump over here to FanDuel and kind of just build a sample lineup like I try to do every time we do one of these live before lock videos. Just kind of feel out where things are sitting at. It's going to be a little hard to build a sample lineup here because we're going to need this Pelican news. So do I build one with those guys being out or not? So I think I'm going to build one with considering that they're out. So if they are out, I'm still going Fred VanVleet here for sure. And then it depends. If they are out, I'm going to go right back to Alexander Walker. If they are not, then I'm probably going to go to, I don't know, Halliburton or Svi or somebody like that. But I'm going to throw Alexander Walker here. Same kind of thing at point guard. It's really hard to build this because there's so much injury news we're waiting on. We could go John Morant and Trae Young as more in this mid-range kind of spend up. Like I said, John Morant is too cheap, 6,800. I'll throw him in there regardless. But again, if Mitchell's out, I'm looking at Conley. If all those Pelicans out, I'm coming down here and I'm looking at going Bledsoe because he's just too stinking cheap. So I'll throw Bledsoe in this lineup. And this would be if those guys are out. Small forward though, it's got to be Bogdanović. He's 5,500, but if those guys are out, he's just going to continue to see a ton of run and just continue to smash. It's hard not to play him. And then I'm probably pairing him up with somebody like maybe OG against Golden State. I like that. We still got 7,500 left in this lineup here. So, and then we could probably fit Giannis in this lineup, honestly. Throw Giannis in 5,800. I talked about Collins out, so I like Capella a lot. There's a lot of ways to go, Holmes and all this, but I love Capella at 7,800. That leaves us 3,900 for a power forward in this particular lineup. And this is where if you threw Svi in up at shooting guard instead of Alexander Walker, it would leave you with around 6K left for your power forward slot, and you probably slide someone in there at that point. But in this particular lineup, we could look at, coming down here and looking. I don't think there's going to be a ton of guys. Oh, you know what? What is Sarge's price? Because I talked about it. Oh, it's 4,400. He's my sneaky play. So maybe we have to adjust a few things to get him in here. But yeah, he's just kind of a sneaky tournament only. No, he's not a cash play. Don't be throwing him in cash. But it's just one of those things. If they blow out, he could get a lot of run and crush. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's hard to really build a sample lineup on FanDuel without having the news. But again, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button for me. And again, head on over to Drafters, sign up, use promo code DFSArmy, and get that deposit bonus. Link is below in the description. And we got MLB locking as well today. I'm going to knock out a few videos today. Appreciate your patience while I take care of some things. And let's just make some money. I'm going to show you a cool tool that we worked on for SportsBetArmy as well when I do a prop video today. It's a really cool tool that we've been working on over the last couple weeks that I think you guys will like. So with that, I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm Cash Gag. Deuces.